Our opening words, thresholds, are from Arlen Goff. Thresholds. We cross them every day, from room to room, from outside to inside, and back again. From here to there, from anywhere to everywhere, from age to age. Each threshold offers an opportunity for change, for renewal, and for transformation from what we were and what we are to what we can be. In this hour and in this place, we cross a threshold. From our everydayness into space and time attuned to one another, we can find the sacred, the holy, an awareness of new life ripe with possibilities. How will we be renewed by this moment? How will we be changed by this hour? How will we be transformed through the gathering of our beloved community? Come, you thirsty, longing souls, come and let us worship together. Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? This is the soundtrack that has been playing in the back of my mind since my arrival to Northlake on August 1st. Its words have lured me into this meditative encounter, pulling me closer, inviting me to get more intimate with the present chapters of this church and with the present chapters of its people, all of you. And in being welcomed into this Northlake community, I've heard a counter melody. It has the same tune, but instead of my voice, its chorus is made up of all of you. Your voices have been singing back to me, saying, Reverend Brigitta Vieyra, where do you come from? Who are you? And where are you going? I'm here, beloveds, because shift, S-H-I-F-T, shift happens. In my mid-20s, a combination of calamities interrupted my life, inviting me into this unfamiliar territory. A territory that is often called the messy middle, the ooey-gooey, the liminal in-between, or the chrysalis. It was during my own messy middle of rumbling with this acute heartache, confusing chaos, and very discomforting dissatisfaction that I first heard a longing to listen to my heart center, vulnerably, daringly asking myself, where do I come from? Who am I? Where am I going? To live my way into the answers of this very taunting and haunting melody, I went in search of a faith community, one that would not just convoke, but also provoke me to stay in that messy middle, to honor my transitional time. I was in search of a threshold people, a people who knew in their bones that thresholds are less about successfully, quote, successfully moving from one place to another, but instead about taking a sacred pause. A people who knew that thresholds are less about transportation and more about transformation. If only I could find such a people willing to stay with me in that chrysalis, willing to let me just be so that I could become. A best friend of mine told me, you should check out this eclectic group. They're progressives, and they practice a liberal religion called Unitarian Universalism. It's radical welcome words, the ones we say, whether you come feeling whole, feeling broken, or anywhere in between, you are welcome here. Those welcome words grounded and nourished me for the first time in a very long time. And it was also the first time I ever saw a woman preaching in the pulpit. Immediately I thought to myself, who are these people? Where do they come from and where are they going? And can I come along and see? In time, I discovered UUism is a faith tradition that could honor and respect my religious multiplicity, which included the Catholicism of my childhood upbringing, the skepticism of my agnostic young adulthood, and my present-day mysticism. Growing up Catholic, I never saw women in faith leadership roles, and especially not queer women. Being in an affirming religious space set my heart aflame. I sought ordained ministry in the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition to shepherd our faith in its own threshold moment, one in which we are called to theologically mature, to not just be a liberal religion, but also a liberatory one. And then shift happened again. The genesis of my ministry took place during a time of global rupture, of turmoil and disruption with the COVID-19 pandemic. Some say I was formed in the storm, and there were times when it certainly felt that way for me. But today, looking back, I now see that being formed in that storm also birthed me into a kaleidoscope ministry. A kaleidoscope ministry is deeply incarnational, based in this world, in the here and now. It's one that dares us to reimagine with others what spiritual and moral scaffolding we need for this time. A kaleidoscope ministry is one that honors that messy middle, trusting the transitions of our lives can transform us and the world we live in. Spiritual luminary and author Bruce Vieyra can help us better understand what it really means to be at a threshold moment, because shift happens in all of our lives. Vieyra counsels that there are significant differences between change and transformation. Change is happening all the time. Change is often visible because it is external or situational. And generally, change can feel less difficult to navigate because it doesn't necessarily lead us into an identity shift or a new orientation to life. And then there are transitions. Transitions are much more internal. They're more psychosocial and spiritual. Transition is not always visible, but they are so disorienting, confusing, and unsettling. Transitions require us to have intention and effort to awaken creative new possibilities. Transitions oftentimes also echo other transitions, and they often touch every dimension of our lives. In my personal and professional life, it is in the transitions, in that ooey gooey, messy middle chrysalis time, where I believe we can be transformed. The transformation we need to be free. As Unitarian Universalists, this is deep theological work as well. We are bound not by creeds, but by deeds. Deeds rooted in covenant by the connective tissue of our shared values. One of the values that we will be making concrete together in this 2-year interim time is our UU value of transformation. You see, beloveds, fundamental to our Unitarian Universalist heritage has always been this openness to change, an openness to transition. And through covenant and trusting that middle, we can transform, spiritually and ethically growing to adapt to our rapidly changing world. And also, dear ones, I want you to know that transitions can also be deeply embodied and full of so much grief. Many of you are having a personal experience of a disorienting transition right now. And perhaps would even tell me, Reverend Brigitta, it is way more accurate to leave that F out of shift happens. My hope and prayer is that through our shared kaleidoscope ministry, you discover just how healing and liberating staying with us in that messy middle can be. Some of you are going through a transition in the form of a loss of relationship or divorce. Together, our kaleidoscope ministry can help us transform that breakup into a breakthrough. Some of you are experiencing a life disruption in the form of a health event or scary medical diagnosis for you or a loved one. Together, our kaleidoscope ministry can help you discover that even when it feels like no thing will catch you when you fall, you will find those who always have your back. Some of you are in anticipatory grief or active grief from the death of a loved one or the death of a dream. Kaleidoscope ministry will reveal to you that you are never alone, for we are interconnected and lovingly held in care and comfort. Some of you are in this transitional zone of an identity crisis, be it a change in career, a questioning of your sexuality or gender, a lapse in sobriety, moving from middle school to high school, or the natural process that happens with aging. Kaleidoscope ministry will honor your disorientation so that we can reorient to a more compassionate wholeness. And of course, on a collective level, as a church community, we are in a transitional period due to a change in ordained ministry. This change in minister, change in staff, and even change in Northlake's collective vision for who you are and who you want to become is also taking place in a time of immense social disruption, a time of climate crisis, pandemic trauma, ongoing systematic oppression, and escalating violence. Dear ones, we find ourselves at a threshold moment, a major threshold moment. Together, this kaleidoscope ministry will grieve our losses, heal our hurts, clarify our strengths, and renew Northlake's vision for its whole purpose and your purpose in it. So here we are, with a kaleidoscope and a psalm. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Shift. Shift. Shift happens. Take a look at these shifts. And together, we can find beauty.